Anatomy of a pyramid scheme. Just a few questions. On a regular basis, confused and frustrated reporters who have examined MLM for an assigned story call on me for quotes, but mostly to help them understand the business. Despite years of examining various industries and with college or advanced education, they confess they just don't understand what they have seen. Outwardly, MLM looks like a sales company, they admit. There are products, purchases, commissions, and profit margins. Yet they cannot grasp fundamentals, such as who sells the products, and who the customers are, how the demand for the products is generated, and most confusingly, how they pay rewards. The, quote, compensation plan, they note, is particularly unfathomable. A jumble of quotas, ranks, rules, percentages, all with bizarre and theatrical titles. They just have a few questions for me, they all say, not realizing those questions will lead to answers they cannot print. I always begin my analysis by trying to turn their confusion into the most important fact to report. If seasoned, well-educated journalists can't figure out MLM, what chance does an ordinary consumer have? I remind them, maybe too early in the conversation, that such confusing terms and details are the classic hallmarks of flim-flam, scams, and sophisticated cons. They all tell me the same story. An online search turned up scores of websites promising independent reviews and analysis, or even warnings about MLMs. But following these links led only to promotions and solicitations. Many sites are clickbaits or bots. Other sites are unabashed enrollment pitches with over-the-top praise, excitement, and ridiculous claims of income. In confusion and frustration, some reporters tell me just for a moment, they themselves wondered if MLM might be good to join, given their own pay and job insecurity. A multi-million-dollar enterprise with millions of salespeople, a business so popular it is all over social media. Yet there is nothing useful for due diligence or research purposes on it on the internet. Nothing in the business press, and nothing about it from government sources? Reporters are assigned by their editors to report on whether certain companies are legitimate MLMs or pyramids, or at least show people how to tell the difference. Their searches eventually turn up my website, Pyramid Scheme Alert, or a news story about some MLM in which I am quoted. Here we go again. Groundhog Day for me. What is the difference between MLM and a pyramid scheme? They all want to know. I begin the analysis, a dissection of the MLM anatomy, starting not with a question, but by pointing out the reporter's own research experiences. Whatever MLM is, you can't know it until you have removed the outer costume, the hype, the claims, and presentations which are demonstrably useless or misleading. Relying on that outer costume, you cannot possibly understand it. And none of those millions of consumers who did rely on those presentations understood it when they signed up and paid. As for the pay plan the reporters tried and failed to calculate, they could not possibly understand it. No one could. There are far too many variables, each affecting the others. Without systematic study, it is beyond comprehension. But even then, the only way you could actually understand how it works out in practice is to join. That way, you would see how all the variables interact from experience. But then it's too late. I make a feeble stab at ironic humor on the pyramid question. To understand the question about the difference between MLM and a pyramid scheme, I asked the reporters first to define MLM, the subject of their story. Pyramid scheme, robbing Peter to pay Paul with unsustainable expansion, is understandable. But they asked me to distinguish MLM from a pyramid scheme. So I asked them, please explain what they mean by MLM. Silence. Then a realization. OMG. The reporters actually do not know exactly what MLM is. A type of direct selling, right? You sell and you recruit a team to sell, right? Do they sell, I ask? And aren't they recruiting their own competitors for sales? Have they ever seen any MLMers selling? Why would anyone need a personal salesperson for skin cream? Ever bought something from an MLM salesperson without also being recruited to become a salesperson for the scheme? No. All have been recruited directly and online various times. It always felt weird and sleazy. I point out that they did not realize they did not know what MLM is until after I asked. They just thought they knew. Like millions of others, if they enrolled, they would have joined a business they couldn't explain, and with a pay plan they didn't understand. That's how it works for everybody. So let's first define MLM, and then we can compare, I say. This won't take long, I promise. Great! Spoiler alert. Despite the reporter's initial excitement at finally unraveling the mystery of MLM, the stories that are later published do not address the startling fact that what the reporters thought MLM is was only a vague and erroneous notion, not based on facts. The stories that are published in my Groundhog Day experiences do not say that the MLM pay plan, the key to its claim to unlimited income, is unfathomable, and anyone signing up for the income cannot possibly know what they are getting into. To have written that people have either no clue how MLM works or have a wrong impression of what MLM is would reveal MLM as a massive and carefully set consumer trap, causing tens of billions in losses each year due to deception or at least to key facts being purposefully withheld. It might mean a disinformation or cover-up by the MLM industry, ignored, perhaps deliberately, by law enforcement. I plunge on. I say, MLM's financial proposition cannot be understood without accurately defining it, which requires separating it into defining parts. Then the truth becomes obvious in plain sight. This is not rocket science, but its obviousness is also why MLM promoters use extreme persuasion and diversion measures of emotion, fear, and utopian promises. It's why the reporters encountered the fake websites and false testimonials to prevent a deeper examination. But I get ahead of myself. I walk the reporters through the defining elements of what is called multi-level marketing. There are only 4. 1. Endless chain. Everyone knows in theory an endless recruiting chain with each level larger than the one before is mathematically impossible and unsustainable. With each person recruiting just 5 others, the Earth's population is exceeded after just 13 levels. Markets are limited. There are only so many people to sign up. That obvious fact dooms most to lose because most are always at the bottom. If one person recruits 5 who recruit 25, who recruit 125, etc., the bottom levels will always be over 80% of the total, and that percent never appreciably changes, even if the chain grew to 125 million. Last ones in always lose, and they are always the vast majority. So how could MLM operate with such a defining structure? All of them do. That is how they promise unlimited income. Some have as many as 12 or more defined ranks or levels. And always the last person to join can recruit an endless number of more salespeople, ad infinitum. What would be the sales purpose for such an impossible structure? For management? An entire country can be easily managed with 3 management levels, with 1 or just a few people in each position, national, regional, district, overseeing the local sales force. Is there not some limit to the number of salespeople an area can bear or needs? The reporters agree that MLMs are defined uniquely by their endless recruiting chain of salespeople, in which everyone is also a recruiter manager, and there is no level that is defined only as sales, without also being authorized to recruit. We agree from a sales and management perspective, this seems to make no sense, and nearly all that join have to lose based on their position. 2. Pay to play. We observe that to work in an MLM as a sales contractor, you have to pay an enrollment fee. Then, to benefit from the bonuses flowing up to you from your recruits, you have to keep paying, buying a quota of stuff monthly. But why? You're not told where you are on the chain, or how many others are already operating in your area, or have ever joined before you. You have no protected territory. You cannot use media advertising. You don't have the benefit of company advertising or sales leads. The company keeps adding more and more salespeople in your area and encouraging you to recruit your own competitors. You cost the company nothing. You pay for marketing materials, fees for motivation events, even business cards. On the other hand, you have severe restrictions under the MLM contract you must sign when you first enroll. You cannot recruit for several MLMs at the same time. You cannot even criticize the company or its products. You can't sell your products on eBay or in a store. You can't participate in a class action suit. Yet, all MLMs require payment to join, payment to renew, and quotas of purchases or recruiting, or both, to gain overrides on your own recruits. The reporters agree that from a business perspective, required payments and quota purchases seem unjustified and would likely result in many people soon quitting under the burden of monthly costs if they were not successful in recruiting enough people. And we already figured out that it is mathematically impossible for the majority to be successful recruiters. 3. Recruiting mandate. No one needs a PhD to know this one. All recruits figure this out in a matter of days. To gain the promised income in MLM, you have to recruit. Selling door-to-door at a marked-up retail price is absurd in the era of eBay, Amazon, and Costco. Selling online when thousands of others are selling the same products at the same pricing is similarly fruitless. Trying to develop customers while the company keeps adding competitors and offering your customers the wholesale price as, quote, preferred customer or discount buyer is also absurd. MLM is direct selling in name only. In reality, it is all about recruiting. The people on the stage at motivation events that make the big bucks are not door-to-door salespeople, but black hat Top Gun recruiters. The reporters agree that if you don't recruit, you don't make money. The endless chain income proposition only makes sense if you are a recruiter. The exponential math, 5 recruit 25, who recruit 125, who recruit 625, etc., that is shown during the presentation only works if you recruit the first 5 and all of them do too. And we had already figured out that it is mathematically impossible for everyone to recruit more people. From a business perspective, we had also already figured out that required payments seemed unjustified and would likely result in many people soon quitting under the burden of monthly costs. 4. Extreme money transfer from bottom to top. And then we come to the defining element of MLM that caused the reporters not only confusion, but also momentarily inclined them away from hard facts and toward MLM's dream visions and fake testimonials of happiness and wealth. This defining element dumbfounds and diverts new recruits. It involves the incomprehensible pay formula with its charts and rates, titles, rules, points. In John Oliver's famous expose of MLM on HBO, he played an actual and typical video clip of a slick MLM promoter explaining how extraordinary and, quote, simple the pay plan is. Within 3 sentences, the listener is lost in complexity and incomprehensible variables. This guile of claiming simplicity of something hopelessly complicated is to get the listener to abandon due diligence and just accept the wondrous assurances of the promoter without understanding anything. He said it is simple, so it must be my fault for not understanding the explanation. But here's the thing, I assure the reporter.